Modern Western civilization has as its foremost thinker, its scholar of the philosophy of history, the German scholar Friedrich Hegel. And Hegel spoke for modern Western civilization when he said that the historical process moves in such a way that there is a continuous conflict between thesis and antithesis. He called it thesis and antithesis, we call it truth and falsehood. But the conflict between thesis and antithesis always resolves itself, he says, in a synthesis which lies at a higher stage of the historical process. So when the synthesis emerge, the thesis and the antithesis now become redundant. And so history is not moving in a linear direction, regressive, going down. No. History is moving in a linear direction, progressive, going up. The latest is always the best. And so when modern Western civilization achieved its dominance over the whole world, it represented the synthesis of all civilizations which came before it. This is the best. And so religion has had its day, and religion's day has now ended. And so religion, including Islam, now belong to the museums of history. This is Friedrich Hegel. Arnold Toynbee came much later, and Arnold Toynbee, as an ardent Christian, attempted to grapple. And he had to recognize, and he had to follow in Hegel's footsteps, at least in this respect, of recognizing the claim of modern Western civilization to be the best that has ever emerged in history. What will be the end of history? Francis Fukuyama, about 10-15 years ago, wrote that book, The End of History. And in that book he argued that not only does modern Western civilization represent the synthesis of all civilizations that came before it, and therefore the highest and the best, but he also argued that this is the last. That history ends with the triumph of modern Western civilization over all the rest of the world. Fukuyama did not understand the internal reality of the subject. This is not true. Modern Western civilization has an unwritten conception of the end of history, which is connected with the Holy Land. There is an actor at work in modern Western civilization which is constantly using modern Western civilization to achieve his objective. I recognize that actor to be the false Messiah, Dajjal. He is the explanation. And history will not end until Western civilization allows that state of Israel to replace the United States of America as the ruling state in the world. And the Messiah emerges in the Holy Land and claims to be the true Messiah and brings back the golden age. From our perspective, he would not be the true Messiah. He would be the false Messiah. He would be Dajjal. But Western civilization was not only created by the false Messiah Dajjal, not only is it ruled by the false Messiah Dajjal, who is the mastermind, but more than that. Gog and Magog are the two dominant actors acting within modern Western civilization. And so, The movement of history is linear and progressive, and history will end with the false Messiah ruling the world from Jerusalem. What is Islam's view of the end of history? It is the same. It is the same as the Christian view. It is the same as the Jewish view. That there is eternal conflict between truth and falsehood. That history will end with the final triumph of truth over falsehood. We're not the only ones who are saying this. That final triumph of truth over falsehood would culminate with events which are unfolding in the Holy Land. They're saying the same thing as we are saying. That the events which are unfolding in the Holy Land would themselves culminate with the true Messiah coming to rule the world from Jerusalem. We are not the only ones who are saying this. This is the same thing that the Christian is saying. This is the same thing that the Jew is saying. We share the same view as the Christian. Yeah. That prior to the end of history, there would be a last stage. The Christian says the same thing. We say, our Prophet, Allah's blessing be upon him, has explained that in that last age there would be turmoil and confusion and bloodshed and anarchy in the world and blasphemy all around in the world, etc. The Christian says the same thing. We say that the last age is an age which will witness the emergence of these evil actors in the world. The true Messiah came in the person of Jesus, alayhi salam. The Christian says the same thing. The true Messiah was rejected because they said he was a bastard. The Christian says the same thing. The Christian saw the true Messiah die on the cross. And it was confirmed to him that he was crucified. I can't blame him because Allah made it to appear like that to him. Allah says so in the Quran. The only way that the Christian could change that belief, the only way, there is no other way. Because he saw him die on the cross before his very eyes. The only way he could change that belief is if he comes to the Quran and he recognizes the Quran to be the word of the one God. Tonight we invite him to do that. When you recognize the Quran to be the word of the one God, then he now explains to you what you did not know before. That no, they did not crucify him. No, they did not kill him. But Allah made it appear like that. And Allah raised him. And then once again he's going to come back. The Christian believes that, as the Muslim does. And when Jesus comes back, he's going to come back to rule the world from Jerusalem. The Christian believes that. The Muslim believes that. Before he comes back, however, Allah releases into the world the false Messiah, who will impersonate the true Messiah. The Christian believes that. The Muslim believes that. This is not something new. We have the same belief as the Christian. That false Messiah, in order to impersonate the true Messiah, must rule the world from Jerusalem, from a state of Israel. And the day that the Christian rejects this belief, this false belief, that the false Messiah will be a Gentile, not a Jew, the Christian will now be able to understand events unfolding in the Holy Land. Prophet Muhammad said, Allah's blessing be upon him, that the false Messiah will be a Jew. He'll be born of Jewish parents. He will be a young man. He'll be powerfully built. He would have curly hair. And he would rule the world from Jerusalem. From our perspective, when we see events unfolding in the Holy Land, in the way they are unfolding, number one, the liberation of the Holy Land for the Jews. Number 2, the return of the Jews to the Holy Land to reclaim it as their own. Number 3, the restoration of a state of Israel in the Holy Land which has a PhD in oppression and a PhD in decadence. This cannot be the Holy Israel of David and Solomon. Allah's blessings be upon him. No. This is the work of the Antichrist, of Dajjal, the false Messiah. And so when Israel replaces the United States of America tomorrow and becomes a new ruling state in the world, it will not surprise the Muslim. It will not cause any confusion in the heart and the mind of the Muslim, because he understands what's happening. When that man stands up and declares, I am the Messiah, and all these people who see with one eye accept him to be the Messiah, the Muslim will say, no, you are Dajjal, the false Messiah. Then said Prophet Muhammad, Allah's blessing be upon him, the true Messiah will now come.